I'm Merrill, and we're here to share some of the information of my good meditation teacher. He taught us some practical ways to get into meditation, and I'm going to share that with you. First, I'd like to introduce our panel. Would you just say a word about yourself and may your name and perhaps something that you'd like to do someday or be someday?
Sure, thank you. My name is Arthur. I am looking forward to getting into college teaching. That's been something I've thought about for years, and I'm actually starting it. Started yesterday, was the first class.
Excellent.
Hi, I'm Sue. I'm pretty recently retired, and one thing I wanted to do was sing in a chorus, and I just got involved in a senior chorus.
I'm Michelle, and I would like to emulate my role model, Audrey Hepburn, the actress and UN ambassador, to work for human rights one day and become a star on the way.
Two shots for one, okay.
I'm Peter, and I'm a part-time musician, and I'd like to find some players and form another band. I've had several bands, and start up another original band.
Okay, thank you very much. And let's just review a bit. We started earlier and talked about the difference between noticing our thoughts and getting lost in a thought. That's a basic distinction. When we have a thought, I have a work problem, what should I do? I should talk to this guy, that guy, that won't work. You could really get lost in a thought, right, gang?
Yeah.
But we could also just notice, I notice that I'm thinking about that work problem again. That distinction is important because in meditation, we want to just let the thoughts come and go. We want to notice them. We don't want to get lost in any of them. And let's review mantra meditation, which we did last time. So I'll lead you through it. And you viewers, go through it at home and you'll get the experience for yourself. Okay, please close your eyes. Put your hands together. It works better that way. And start by becoming very aware of your breathing. Just shift your attention to how you're breathing now, like how the air is coming in and how the air is going out. We always start meditation with breathing awareness. That settles us, pulls us together very simply. Becoming aware of the air coming in, becoming aware of the air going out. And enjoy the way your body now breathes. You may have thoughts as you're doing this, but just don't pay much attention to the thoughts. Keep your focus on your breathing. And now please shift and start saying to yourself in some loving, sweet, warm way, Ananda. That's the mantra we're using. So we drop the sound of Ananda inside us, gently, like a feather floating inside, not like a pebble dropping, but gently dropping the sound of Ananda in toward the very best self you have inside you. Ananda. And as you're saying that, you probably hear my voice and you may have thoughts, but just leave that in the background. Your priority now, Ananda. If you ever notice that you got distracted and you got preoccupied by something, some thought or some feeling, a headache, or what do you have to do later, just notice what's preoccupying you, let it go, and go back to your breathing first. We start with breathing awareness. Get yourself reestablished in breathing awareness, and then return again to a And again, your mind won't stop, but just don't pay much attention to the thoughts that show up. Stick with a nod. Okay, please slowly open your eyes. That was just a quick review. I'd like to ask the panel how it went last time. I asked you to do that at least once a day and set a timer for 5 minutes and do it for at least 5 minutes on the timer. How did it go with you, Art?
It went pretty well. I had to make the time to do it. Honestly, a couple of days I forgot, got busy. But when I make the time and do it, it's very good.
Okay. Do you have any questions? Do you have any problems with it?
Intruding the thoughts. The mantra helps to try and keep them at bay. But as you say, the mind never stops and the thoughts keep coming.
Yeah. And the question is priority. The thoughts will always come, but we can always leave them in the background. Almost, my favorite analogy is like I'm in a restaurant and I'm eating with somebody, we're having a nice conversation, and I hear the waiter going back and forth and other conversations at other tables, but I leave them in the background. My priority now is with my conversation or with the meal, and in the same with meditation. Thoughts come, but I leave them in the background. My priority is Ananda or breathing. Yeah.
Yes.
That's the key distinction we have to practice. Sue, how was it for you?
It was pretty good. Setting a regular time worked pretty well for me. Prior to this, I maybe got in twice a week. This time I meditated probably at least 5 days.
Excellent. Okay.
One thing you had told us last week was that while we're meditating, we might get the urge to get up and do something else and to just let that go and stay focused. That happened a lot to me, but I kept at it and I stayed focused.
Oh, I'm delighted, yeah. You get the urge sometime, oh, I gotta deal with this issue. If I deal with that, then I can sit down and meditate and I'll be free. Mm-hmm. But just treat that as a thought and just let it come up and, oh, I got this urge to go, but let me be aware of my breathing and let me start saying Ananda and just let that urge go and it'll eventually fade. If we respond to every urge, we're going to reinforce it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we got to let that go too, or we won't ever be free of our urges.
I'll try to explain. I felt that as I said Ananda in my head, it almost interrupted my breathing, or I tried to correlate my inhalations and exhalations to the word Ananda, and sometimes I would stop breathing and it just distracted me more.
Yeah. Well, let me recommend that from now on, once you become aware of your breathing, that's comfortable enough, right?
Yes.
And then when you start saying Ananda, dropping Ananda inside, forget about your breathing. You don't have to correlate at all. It's one or the other. Either one of them will help you not get lost in your thoughts. So you don't have to have both. You could have both if it works for you. But if you could just be aware of Ananda, you can let go of breathing.
Okay.
Peter?
The more I meditated, the better at it I seem to become. The question I have is, how do you know when you've reached a meditatory state? I don't know if that's a rhetorical question or if it's just, well, when you're doing it, you're doing it. Or maybe I'm overthinking it, but Ananda definitely helped me ease into whatever state I was in. I find afterwards I wondered am I meditating?
Okay, well, that's a good question. That raises the purpose. Why do we do this? Is just doing it well enough, or is there a purpose in it? Let me go back and review what we're about here. As you remember, we talked about having a body, that's our bones and our muscles and all that stuff in us. We also have a mind, that's our thoughts and our memories and our wishes and that kind of thing. And our body and our mind are two different parts of us. This is our mental self, this is our physical self, but they're both parts of us. But both of those things keep changing. When I was 2, when I was 12, when I was 22, my body and my mind were very different. It kept changing. But I was always Merrill. I was always me. There's something essential about me that's unchanging. And we remember that. And we also remember that our fully alive selves, it's when we feel fully alive, we feel peaceful, loving, joyous, energetic, centered, like that. When these feelings come up, and they don't come up that often, but they'll come up once in a while, and when those feelings come up, we feel fully, comfortably alive. That's when we're complete. Well, it turns out that these are the feelings that are at the essential self. They're the heart of us. And what we're doing in meditation is trying to relax the mind a little, take our emphasis off the mind during meditation. The rest of the day you can focus on all your mind stuff, your hopes, your problems, whatever. During meditation we leave the mind stuff in the background and drop Ananda into our essential self. So this place in us that has all this good stuff can have room to come forth. Because let me just say a little more about the mind. In fact, it isn't an empty space like that. It's full of impressions. Here's our body, here's our mind, here's our essential self. But our mind is full of stuff. Like once somebody told you, you are good looking. That made an impression on you. Wow, I didn't know that. Or somebody once said that you're very talented at something. Or maybe you won a prize. Or maybe you were picked first in some game. Or maybe somebody said that you're one of the very best. Some things make an impression on us. Many things in life don't make an impression, but some things do. And they fill up our minds. We're busy going about our business on the surface of our mind, doing our jobs, thinking what we have to do this afternoon, and so on. However, below the surface is those old memories that made an impression on us. And some of those impressions are not so positive. For example, somebody may have ignored you, and that made an impression on you. Or you may have gotten snubbed romantically when you were 14 years old, and that made an impression on you. Or maybe you heard your parents argue when you were an infant, and you didn't know exactly what they were arguing about, but it just made an impression on you. And you've got these vague things inside that sometimes come up in dream form, but usually you're unaware of them. Well, it turns out that there's such a large sea of these things, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, maybe thousands and millions of them, that they block up the awareness of our essential self, that place where that good stuff is in us. But what we're doing operationally is we're sitting down to relax, and we're allowing thoughts to come to us. And the thoughts that come to us, oddly enough, are because of these impressions. Why you think of one thing and not another is because something is alive in you. Let me tell you about the red car story. I once bought a red car. Didn't intend to buy a red car, but went to the dealer and I came home with a red car. As I'm driving home from the dealer with this red car, suddenly all over town I'm seeing red cars. Now I didn't know on the way to the dealer, I didn't know there were so many red cars in town. But driving from the dealer, I'm seeing red cars all over town. Now, why do you think I saw red cars coming home from the dealer and I didn't see them going to the dealer?
It was obviously in your awareness since you had just bought a red car.
Something inside me now had red carness. I was associated with it. These things that are inside us govern even what we perceive. I didn't decide to see red cars, but because I had something inside me, it triggered it. So that's why you see some things that other people don't see, and some things impress you and don't impress other people, and some things bother you that don't bother other people. It's this sea of stuff that's below consciousness that governs what we perceive, what we think, what we worry about, what we aim for, oddly enough. Whereas we're all naturally, essentially good, healthy, loving, peaceful people like this. This is in everybody, even in youngsters. You'll notice that youngsters can be peaceful, loving, joyous. You don't have to be old or smart. It's the essence of the human condition. Well, why we meditate, in fact, is to withdraw the energy from this stuff so it becomes less and less potent and we become more and more free of it. Or I sometimes put it this way: what we attend to in life, we reinforce. And what we turn away from, we free ourselves from. Let me tell you another story. When I was younger, I did a lot of writing. I don't do much writing now. But I would sit at my desk typing when my daughter was about 3. And she often needed attention. She didn't have much patience to play by herself. So she would come up to me, "Daddy," with this or that. And often I would find myself saying, "Not now, honey. Daddy's busy. I'll play with you later." "Not now, honey." And she'd come again later, "Not now, honey." And often I'd have to do that a bunch of times till she learned some self-discipline. After a while, she realized that there's a work time and a play time, and we were fine. It's the "not now, honey" that I keep saying to this stuff when it comes up in my mind during meditation. Stuff comes up, and I just turn aside from it, and I say, I don't want to think about now. Now I want to be aware of my breathing, or I want to focus on Ananda. Ananda is calling forth the very best self in me. But stuff will come to my mind. Stuff always comes to mind. And why does something come to your mind rather than other things? Because it's somehow connected to something in here. But as you say to something that shows up, "Not now, honey, just let it go." Give it a name and let it float away. Or if you're visual, see it float away. As you just turn your attention from it, it starts to leave you, just like my daughter started leaving me. What we attend to, we reinforce. We give our attention to something. That's why it's not useful to linger in fear or worry or depression or anxiety. The more we linger in it, the stronger it gets. And that's also why those who want to break a habit are wise to just break free, not go back and forth to it, because every time they attend to the urge, it gets stronger. And that's why, Sue, when you said the urge to quit came up and you didn't give in to it, little by little it'll stop coming up for you. But if you give in to it, even once, it gets stronger. It says, "I've got control over her." Got the idea?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the process of meditation is the process of drawing our attention away from the stuff that comes up for us. So eventually we become more pure and clean in our mind. The stuff is always there. We always have our personality and those impressions, but now they don't have much power over us. And things will bother us less often. Things will bother us less severely. We'll be more integrated, mind, body, and soul. And it'll show up. That's abstract, but it'll show up. You'll find yourself just generally feeling more peaceful, loving, joyous, energetic. So that's a long answer to your question. What are we after? What we're after is this experience. And what we're doing is we're engaging a process of allowing stuff to come and turning aside from it. At the same time, calling forth Ananda, which is that beautiful stuff at the heart of us. Isn't that interesting? So meditation's a fairly simple but extremely potent process. And if we just do it regularly, a few minutes every day, very regularly, little by little, we get closer to our essence. And more often we feel loving, peaceful, joyous, easy, confident, wise, strong. What do you think?
Sounds good.
Make sense?
Yes.
Good. Okie dokie. What I'd like to now to do is another mantra meditation. And what I'd like you folks in the audience to do is to do it along with us and get the experience of it. It's something you've got to experience. We'll try it again a little longer this time and see how it works for you, and then we'll talk about it a bit, and I'll tell you your new homework for the forthcoming week. Okay? Okay. Hands together, please. Eyes closed. Sit comfortably. Or you could even lie down and do this for that matter. The idea is to be comfortable. And we start by putting our attention on our breathing. And then just enjoy the air coming in and the air going out. The air coming in, the air going out. That's our home base, breathing awareness. Once we're aware of our breathing, we start saying inside, the sound inside to ourselves in some loving, sweet way. You want to drop that word down inside to your very best self, to awaken it, to encourage it. Allow thoughts to come. Your mind will never stop. Like your ears are always attuned to the outside world, your mind is attuned to the world of thought. But just don't pay much attention to it. And if anything really comes up for you and preoccupies you, that means it has a strong valence for you. It overcomes your interest in being aware of your meditation right now. Note that that's probably triggered by something deep inside you. So just notice it and let it go. Don't fight it. Just say, not now, honey. Let it go and put your attention back on your breathing to get established again. And then it's important to know that anything that comes to you, could be a good thought or a bad thought, a pleasant one or an unpleasant one, is to be treated equally. During meditation, you just want to keep your distance from it. What you're practicing is being free of mind stuff all the time. This is your interlude to be free of mind stuff so you weaken its power over you. So the rest of your day, you'll have more access to your loving, peaceful, strong, wise inner self. Okay, please open your eyes. Slowly, we always come out of meditation slowly and gently. Any thoughts about that? Any questions come up?
It seemed to have gone well.
Okay, good, Art.
Now and then I get the urge to yawn or swallow. Is that okay? Or?
Absolutely. Do whatever is natural, whatever is comfortable. The main part is to allow things to happen without interfering and stay balanced, maintaining your distance from it. So it doesn't, you don't want to attend to things and reinforce them. You want to notice and let them go. So yawning is fine. You may even get more tired when you meditate. That just means probably you need more sleep. Your body needs sleep, and that's fine. When we meditate, what our real needs as opposed to our mental needs come up sometimes, and sometimes we're surprised. We get more insight, more wisdom. You'll find out what you really need sometimes, which is different than what you think you need. Any other thoughts? Yeah.
I still found trouble separating the inclination to find a correlation between Ananda and my breathing, but hearing you say Ananda let me just focus on you saying it instead of me saying it in my head, and then also being reminded to return to step one, which is just focusing on my breathing, helped me start over and try to do it successfully.
And remember, you don't have to pay attention to your breathing at all once you start Ananda if you'd like. Pete, did you have something?
Well, in line with your explanation to my question, it sounds like it's more, as a lot of things in life are, it's a journey. It's not a destination to arrive at. And as I think what's happening as I meditate is these impressions are going away and not obscuring my essential self as much as they were, sort of like looking through a glass and cleaning the glass.
It's exactly
so you
what
can
it's
see
like.
through it.
Excellent metaphor, thank you. Okay, so your homework now is the same. It's mantra meditation, which, whoops, looks like this. These are the steps of mantra meditation. First, we center on our breathing awareness. Once we're centered there, we shift to a nam, and we just stay there. We let thoughts come and go, feelings come and go. But when we notice that both disappeared, that is your breathing awareness and Ananda awareness, then we just start again. We can start back and forth as many times as you like. So now I'd like you to do this for the next week, a little longer, and if you can, do it twice a day. Thank you very much.